You might have heard of Valheim, the recently released Viking-inspired survival game, where your goal is to conquer the land and hunt down mythical creatures so you may ascend to Valhalla. Like in any good survival game, the world of Valheim is full of danger and the game expects you to figure things out for yourself. But if you find yourself a little overwhelmed after dropping off the Viking battle bus, don't worry, we've got some beginner tips to help you get started. And if you find these tips useful, go ahead and give us a like and sub, because that tells us that you guys enjoyed this video and we get to make more Valheim tips. Your first goal is going to be building up a base camp. You'll need a fire to keep warm once night kicks in, a bed next to that fire so you can sleep through the night and have a respawn point, and a workbench so you can start creating more advanced tools and building structures. The trick is, in order for the bed to work, it will need to be covered with a shelter. You can place down a workbench and start building your house right away, or even create the most bare-bone requirements for a shelter, but the best course of action would be to take advantage of the many abandoned houses lying around. They typically have just enough room to fit a bed, chest, and maybe even a workbench if you Tetris hard enough, and it will be the perfect temporary accommodation for you while you build your dream house. Just make sure there isn't a beehive already set up shop. However, abandoned houses aren't just good for early game housing or the occasional chest. Fun fact, they are made out of wood, and an excellent way to gather the resource quickly. Don't waste time with your axe though, that is simply too slow. Instead, place a workbench next to the structure. Workbenches allow you to build structures within a certain range of them. You can also dismantle any structure in that range. See where I'm going with this? Using this method, you can dismantle abandoned homes in seconds, collecting the wood in the process. Just keep in mind that this will whittle down the durability of your hammer quite quickly. Now comes the time to build your first home, and we have a few tips to make it easier for you. The terrain in Valheim is rarely flat and smooth, which might be a source of frustration for first-time builders. Which is why the first thing you should do is flatten the ground you're gonna build on using the hoe. You can craft one at a workbench that's covered by a shelter. Keep in mind that this isn't Minecraft, and you can't completely transform the landscape. The hoe is good for basic flattening and raising of the ground in order to get it smooth enough for a foundation for your home. But what's the best way to actually build a home? Well, these abandoned homes lying around are actually built using the same pieces you can create, which means you can simply copy or use them as inspiration when building your first structure. I would recommend making yours larger though, so you have plenty of space to move around and fill it with stuff. Final bit of advice, if you're struggling with getting building pieces to connect to each other, instead of trying to place it where you want it to be, aim your reticle at the side of the piece you want to connect it to. That was something that was tripping me up at first. You'll likely go through a few axes and hammers while gathering the necessary materials for your home. However, the item doesn't break once you've exhausted it. So, how do you repair them? Well, turns out it's quite easy. Once you have your workbench under a shelter, you can craft and upgrade items and tools. On the left of the menu is this little square icon. Tap that to repair one of your tools. And that's it. No cost or materials necessary. As long as you have access to the workbench, you can repair all your tools and gear to your heart's content. By the way, if you're like me and created a few extra axes before you had access to repair, go ahead and throw those in a chest. It's always good to have backups on hand in case you meet your demise. Once your basic needs are out of the way, you'll want to start focusing on boosting your character's ever-growing list of skills. How? Simply by performing that action. Chopping trees levels up your axe cutting, shooting arrows increases your archery, and so on. These skills are invaluable, as they will actually carry over if you bring your character to a different server, saving you the hassle of completely starting from scratch. Be warned though, a penalty for dying is losing skill levels, so make sure not to be too risky. You'll naturally level these skills up by playing the game, but if you're looking to improve a certain skill, you can spend the time in a rigorous training montage. Find a low-level enemy and block them with your shield over and over, or punch a tree stump to improve that hand-to-hand. If you really want to get cheesy with it though, have a friend join your server, turn off PvP damage, and then just swing away. Yeah, it does feel pretty broken, so don't be too surprised if it's patched out in a later update. Boars are easy enough to find and kill, but it's always nice to have your own personal hogs to love and care for and slaughter for resources. You might have seen a stone message that implies it's possible to tame the creatures. First thing you'll want to do is build a basic pen. Make sure it's large enough to hold several hogs. Build a gate or leave an opening, and then go and find 2 hogs and aggro them. Once they are nice and upset, lead them back to your pen and trap them. And the hard part is done. Now you just need to simply tame them. Drop food like berries or mushrooms into the pen, and slowly, over the next few days, their tameness percentage will rise until they love you. Soon your pen will be filled with little piggies who will eventually grow into regular hogs, giving you a nice supply of meat and leather scraps. Just remember to keep throwing food into the pen for them. We hope these beginner tips will help you get started on your Viking journey. If you have any good advice for those starting out that we missed, post them in the comments below to help your fellow players out. Thanks for watching, and good luck becoming a Viking warrior.